welcome back to another Menu Monday. I know last week I told you I was going to be doing more recipes this week, but I have my Swanson's group ahead in the grocery list. So these are going to be Swanson's dinners. I have 4 of them for you. And without further ado, let's get cooking. This chicken chili is so simple. I did it in less than 10 minutes, and in that time I cooked some biscuits to go on the side too. But if you had chopping up a fresh onion, you wouldn't even have to do this step. Mine was frozen, so I had to cook it first. If you're going with the ingredients that this calls for, which is a regular onion, you just have prep everything and throw it all in the pot at one time. Bring it to a boil, turn it to low, simmer for I think 4 or 5 minutes, cover it with cheese, and you're done. So for me, I'm going to go ahead and prep my pepper. It called for a red pepper. Walmart didn't have one. They replaced it with a yellow. And I also didn't have the green chili, so I used a little roasted red peppers in the jar. But whatever you have in your cabinet, you can change it up some too. Okay, now we've got our peppers prepped. My onion is no longer frozen. We're going to go ahead and start adding everything. I'm starting with the cumin, and then we'll add the chili powder. And if you're going to use frozen onions like I did, you mix that into the onions before you add everything else. Now we're going to add everything else. I started with the canned chicken, which I had drained. And next go in the white beans. Our chicken broth, which I made my own. We'll put in the peppers. I'm just going to cut these roasted red ones up just a little bit. Now we're going to give everything a stir, and we're going to set our stovetop to high. We want to bring this all to a boil. Now we are boiling away. I'm going to go ahead and give this another stir. We're going to turn this down to low, and we're going to cook that for 5 minutes. I let mine cook on low a little longer just because I was busy doing something else. And then I put the cheese on top and got the biscuits out of the oven. This was so good, especially since it took no time to make. Today, something I have never made before, spaghetti carbonara, and the first thing I'm going to do is cook the bacon. It said 4 slices, but I put 5. If I can fit 5, I'm using 5. We'll get this cooked. Now our bacon's done. We're going to get that out of the pot, and we'll remove all but 1 tablespoon of grease. And then we're going to cook our onion, or if you're using a shallot. Mine's frozen, so it does take a little bit longer than a fresh one, but I like to use up my frozen onions. We have so many of them. Now we're going to add the other ingredients to the pot. That's our soup, our chicken broth, and our Parmesan cheese. We're going to get all this whisked up. I have turned the heat up. You want to bring this to a boil. Now that we're boiling, we're going to go ahead and add the 8 ounces of spaghetti noodles. I'm just giving it a mix and making sure that all the noodles are submerged into the liquid. We're going to turn this down to medium-low, and we're going to cook this for 10 minutes. Now I'm just checking to make sure the spaghetti is cooked. It is. I did have to leave it on for an extra 5 minutes, so that was 15 minutes on medium-low. Now I'm adding my peas, which have defrosted for the most part, and then we're going to add in the bacon. And this is smelling so good. They really need to invent smell-o-vision for cooking channels. I'm just adding a little salt and pepper here. I'm going to mix all that up and sprinkle it with a little Parmesan, and we're all done. I paired mine with some garlic cheese toast. I love this. I've never even had it before, but I have to say, definitely give it a try. It was delicious, and it was easy and very inexpensive. Today we're doing the beef teriyaki. Have to say, I'm definitely going to be doing this one again. First of all, you mix up all the ingredients other than the meat and broccoli. And now to cut up our meat. I'm going to show you a close-up of the picture of this meat that I got at the store. It was fantastic for this. Now I was cutting it like this, and I said, this is ridiculous. This is going to take me forever. So I ended up rolling it and just cutting it like a roll. and it was so much faster. And I'm going to speed this up for you. Also, a little note was to freeze it for an hour before you cut it to make it easier to cut, but mine, I had put it in the fridge the day before and it was still semi-frozen, so it was a good consistency to be able to cut this nicely. Okay, and now we're going to get all this into the frying pan. We'll cook this over medium-high until it was brown, and now we're going to add in the broccoli. Now mine had been frozen, it was defrosted, so there was a lot of liquid in the bag, so I ended up just pulling it out with tongs instead of just dumping it into the frying pan and then adding all that liquid. We'll cook the broccoli for about a minute or two until it's softened some, and then we're going to add in the cornstarch mixture. You bring that to a boil until it thickens, and then you serve it over rice. It didn't take long at all, and it was ready. I made my rice with some beef broth so that it had the beefy taste in it, and it was really good. And I hope you give this one a try. These were all good meals. This one just had a fantastic flavor to us. And this is our plates. I just topped it with a little everything bagel. And then here are your ingredients. And after that will be a picture of the tip steak that I got from Walmart. So for our pork chops, first thing we're going to do is put the oil in the skillet and we'll season up the pork chops. I used some salt, some pepper, and some butt rub, which I had in the cupboard. I don't remember who makes it, but it's very good. You want to cover everything on the pork chops, and then we're going to put them in the pan. You want to make sure that the skillet is hot, and then you're going to cook them 3 minutes on one side, turn them over, and 4 minutes on the other. We don't have to cook them through because they're going to go back in the skillet later on. The recipe calls for 4 boneless pork chops. I had a pork loin and I planned on making some pork chops out of it and then a roast the next day, but there wasn't enough for that, so I just made all little pork chops, bits and pieces here, but it all worked out just fine. So use what you have. Okay, these were cooked on one side, and once they get cooked on both sides, you want to remove them from the pan. Now we're going to add the remaining oil, and we're going to add the onions to the skillet, and then we want to cook those until they're tender and almost crisp. Just stir them occasionally, and then once that happens, you want to add in the garlic, and you're going to cook that for 1 minute, and then after that we'll move on. These were smelling so good too. Now we're going to add 1 cup of white rice, uncooked, and then we cook that for about 2 minutes. We just want to get it sort of lightly brown. Now that the rice is brown, we're going to add the broth. We're going to turn up the heat and bring this to a boil. We'll give it a stir. And then once it's boiling, we'll return it to a low, cover it, and cook it for 20 minutes to get the rice cooked. Now our time's almost up on the rice. We're going to go ahead and stir the preservatives with apricot preserve with the mustard. We'll put this in a small bowl, and then we're going to put half of this into the rice and the other half on the pork chops after we return them to the skillet. And I'm just flipping the pork chops over to make sure they all get covered with the juice that's left in the skillet. And then I'm going to top them with the apricot mustard mix. And then we cover them and cook for an additional 10 minutes. We want the pork chops cooked and the rice nice and tender. And here are our plates. This was absolutely delicious. Big Daddy said definitely put this back on rotation. He loved this one. So I hope you give it a try. Again, super simple. And here are your ingredients. And of course, directions will be linked on our website. Well, I hope you enjoyed those meals. They were all really, really good. And really simple. I also wanted to mention, if you didn't see it, I did a Throwback Thursday last week of a meal that we did in 2017 that I had sort of forgotten about. I spend my time finding new recipes, so often I forget about some of the good ones because I've done so many over the years. So I've been going through old videos on my backup hard drive, and I'm going to be reinventing the video for you guys and doing it as a Thursday throwback and bringing back some of the meals that we thought were wonderful and we haven't done again since. And then I'm going to save them in a different category so I can have a new rotation of dinners. Anyway, it's something I'm working on. If you enjoyed that, do let me know. And if you made it to the end of my video, please leave me a cooking appliance emoji, like a grill or a frying pan or anything like that. And I'll see you next Monday with the dinners from Nor. All right, y'all. I love you. Have a great week. Bye-bye.